Kurumjari. Welcome to our new series, Project Blue Poppy. This is a new series. Let's break the ice. Let's talk about the big elephant, one conversation at a time. Let's process, let's integrate, express, share, tell our own story. Healing, understanding, uniting with each story. Taking a step closer to love and peace. That's what I think about when I thought about Project Blue Poppy. Our first guest, whom I have invited, is Paojel Chaoba, journalist of Manipur. Let me share a little bit about Paojel Chaoba, and then I'm going to share the recorded version of our interview, which I have taken some days back. And let me know how you like the interview. How can we improve on this new series? But the intent is for us to have conversation one at a time. We can express from our heart, and with that, we hope that it'll bring us closer together. Paojel Chaoba. Paojel Chaoba serves as an executive editor of the Frontier Manipur, a digital news platform he co-founded focusing on in-depth reporting in the region. Okay, just give me a moment. I am going to pull his picture. Okay. Okay, before I share the interview, let me share a little bit about him. Paojel Chaoba serves as the executive editor of the Frontier Manipur, a digital news platform he co-founded, focusing on in-depth reporting in the region. He is known for his investigative work, particularly on sensitive issues like armed conflict, government policies, and human rights in Manipur. Chaoba has reported on Manipur's armed revolutionary groups, critiquing their ideologies and shift in behavior as seen in the controversial article Revolutionary Journey in a Mess. Before working in the Frontier Manipur, he worked as a senior reporter with the Imphal Free Press, a widely respected English daily in Manipur. His work often highlights the challenges journalists face in Manipur, including state repression and threat from non-state actors. In January 2021, Chaoba was arrested under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act (UAPA) and charged with sedition for publishing an article critical of revolutionary group. In March 2021, he became the first journalist in India to receive a notice under the new Information Technology, Intermediary Guideline and Digital Media Ethics Code, Rule 2021 for an online discussion hosted by the Frontier Manipur. The notice stemmed from a TFM, that is the Frontier Manipur panel discussion titled Media Under Siege. Are journalists walking a tightrope? Where he addressed the impact of new digital media regulation. Chaoba has publicly condemned the use of police and legal notice as tools of intimidation against journalists, calling it systematic harassment. Following his 2021 arrest, he was released after over 24 hours in custody, alongside Editor-in-Chief Sadokpam Dhiren, after all intervention by the All Manipur Working Journalists Union. His reporting has frequently criticized the Manipur government, particularly under Chief Minister N. Biren Singh, for stifling free expression. While at Imphal Free Press, he broke stories about Manipur police officer admitting to fake encounters, exposing extrajudicial killings in the insurgency-hit state. Under Chaoba's leadership, covered a high-profile drug haul case, including allegation of pressure from the chief minister to release an accused individual. In 2014, unidentified gunmen fired at his residence, an attack linked to his reporting, shortly after he was allegedly beaten by Indian Reserve Battalion personnel. Chaoba has been vocal about the shrinking space for independent journalism in Manipur, especially under BJP-led government. In 2021, the AMWJU terminated his membership, claiming he was no longer affiliated with a recognized media house, a decision he contested as an attempt to discredit him. His work has occasionally stirred controversy for appearing to sympathize with revolutionary ideologies, though he framed it as analytical critique. Through the Frontier Manipur launch in August 2020, Chaoba has embraced digital platform to reach wider audience with uncensored news from Manipur. He was among 20 journalists honored by Kangleipak Students Association for his contribution to journalism in Manipur. Chaoba has faced multiple legal challenges, including sedition charges and defamation cases, reflecting the risk of his bold reporting style. Despite arrests, threats, and legal pressure, he remained committed to speaking truth. In a complex socio-political landscape dominated by ethnic politics and insurgency. Paojel Chaoba's work exemplifies courage under fire, navigating a volatile environment to bring critical stories to light while advocating for journalistic freedom in Manipur. So let us hear from him in his own voice, a little bit about himself and about his experience working as a journalist in Manipur. So, Kurumjari, Paojel Chaoba, welcome to welcome to this new series. The intent for me to start this series is to just have one conversation at a time, to break the ice, maybe talk about the big elephant, which people are not talking about, and we can process, integrate, express, share, tell our own story, right? And I believe that with each conversation, there will be healing, understanding, uniting, and hopefully it'll take us a step closer to love and peace.
Definitely looking forward to that. Thank you for having me on your show.
So firstly, when I thought about this program, I guess I had to bring out my courage because to a certain level, I think, because of what has been happening in Manipur, the level of trust and fear has been elevated in many people, including myself, right? So when I reached out to you, I have followed your work for a very long time, and I have really admired, and I'm very grateful. And I think to people who are listening, to our conversation right now, I am sure that many of us feel the same. That you have been reporting about Manipur for a very long time, and we really salute your work. And I'm hoping that in our conversation we will get to know a little bit about you. We know about all the news you have been sharing to the world, and also the struggle, right? Particularly this conflict, I think there has been a lot of assumptions people have made because of the silence of many people. But I think it is also important to know why some people are silent. What is that we are really facing? Are the other people who are representing Manipur or talking on behalf of Manipur, is that the information which is really happening? So that is my intent. So with that, I really want to welcome you, and I am really grateful and thankful because I have seen some of the footage you have carried and you have shown to us, and it has been for people like me, who are very sensitive and who are a little bit scared of, whole life. I think my whole life I have been scared of the conflict which I have seen in Manipur. But for you, to just run where the problem is, and I can see like burnings and the smoke, and you are like reporting. So we really appreciate you, and we are very grateful for your work.
You are being too kind, Monica. Thank you for all your compliments. I am just a simple journalist doing my job. I am a homegrown local journalist, but this conflict, one needs to do their part. So as per my profession, I have been going around a little bit here and there, and of course, some things which are a little bit hazardous also tend to happen, but we take it as part of our work. So I am here still alive talking to you. And thank you again for having me on your show. I have seen many of your interviews also.
Thank you. I also want to acknowledge that in the grand scheme of what is happening, I think everyone is working with limitation and boundaries. So I do want to be conscious of that, and we will talk and discuss and share what we can and what we are, I guess, safe within our boundary, because encroaching that would probably mean an end to our show.
I'm pretty much sure that we will not be going over that.
Okay.
But I'll keep that in mind.
Okay, good. All right.
Then we can always read it.
Yeah. Yeah. So to start with, can we start a little bit about yourself? We would love to understand who you are from the beginning, your family, schooling, college, how you got into journalism, and what is that drives you to be so passionate about reporting, for many, many years.
Yes, I was born mid-70s, and my sister and I were brought up at Sagolban Menolerak, younger sister, two of us. So I don't know whether if I am a good student or not, but just like you can say mediocre. So I did my high school from Airport Road. A school is there called uh, BIMS. So I did my schooling from over there. Finished my 10th, and education has been pretty hard in some ways for me because uh, of issues, personal issues. So I feel that education should not just be about books and you know, but trying to gain something out of that. I would say that I have not been a very good student, but I have been interested in subjects that I like. So, of course, you don't get to read like what we have right now. There was a scarcity of books back then. You had to go to the central library to get some reference books. There was no Google, nothing, etc. During those times. So I think most of my youth was like a little bit left out here and there, but I was also a little bit mischievous kind in some ways. That doesn't mean that I did bad things to people. Just like clowning around a bit, having a good time with my friends and all. So I didn't take education very seriously, but I just wanted to learn what I wanted to learn. And I did my master's from Manipur University also, mass communication, because that came later. After I finished my 12th, and I think, my second year of graduation. So somewhere along those times, I came into the journalism, not as a profession, but just because I was interested in some things. Like some of my hobbies includes music, and I do love to eat good food. For that, who doesn't, of course? But I could never learn how to cook, so I also decided to try. That came in my later part of my life, but journalism was one place which got me hooked. I'm a person who doesn't go by the normal railway track road, and things has to be exciting a bit because there's something new every day. And in this profession, you get to travel, you also get to meet people, you also get to share your opinions with other people, and you can at least also, if you I have had a lot of teachers in my profession. Tamo Yamim Lava, a very renowned journalist, and I worked with Mr. Pradeep Panjawam for many years with Imphal Free Press. I learned from some of them. Mr. Kellen Thokchom, who's no longer with us. He was a very good teacher to me also. He passed away.
Yeah, I was very sad about that. I always wanted to interview him.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He was like some sort of a mentor to us.
Mm.
Was a mentor to us, and he taught us mm, the ropes of journalism, of how to write and how to carry yourself. I mean, like he was some sort of a father figure to many of us.
Mm.
And yes, Mr. Irengam Arun was there. He joined Imphal Free Press some time later. Mm, but Tawan Pradeep was there. So I have some gurus, some masters, and from them I learned some of the things that I know today. And they have been of immense help, and their experience. I mean, like you're learning from some of the best
Mm.
in Manipur. So these are people that I also have a profound respect for. And yes, also their work are inspiring. And I think I'm on my 25th year now
Oh, wow.
in this profession. So after, I mean, finishing masters, that came much later. Only when I was in like after, yeah, I was there in Imphal Free Press that I decided to finish my master's course in mass communication. I've already been taking a hands-on uh, learning experience from the persons, from the editors that I spoke about. But in the later part, I decided to equip myself a little bit, learn a little bit more. And I was taught in Manipur University. Natasha Elangwam, Sonia Wahangwam, uh, they are my teachers. And they taught me quite a lot over there at the university. So after coming out from university, I again went as a teacher for practicals
Mm.
to assess the students. So many of my classmates, younger classmates, I think I must be the oldest one in the room among the students. I mean, so now they are uh, some of them I have trained at Imphal Free Press. Some of them we know each other. They call me Oja, and I mean, it's such a lovely thing, like to be able to be with people whom you can associate, think. I mean, like practically be on the same job. So
Mm.
some of my classmates are now my colleagues, and it's been good time. And after that, I decided to uh, yes, study a little bit of law. Why law? That is definitely a good question because I'm talking about my educational experience,
Mhm.
my professional qualification. So when I was with Imphal Press, there were so many litigations against us
Mm.
from the government side,
Mm.
defamation cases, criminal defamation cases, and I think it's safe to say that there are not so many good lawyers around. Lawyers means ethical lawyers.
Mm.
So we found out the hard way, and we have been doing the uh, weekly appearances in court with my editor, Mr. Pradeep, with my publisher, Mr. Satyajit, and my colleague, and also my protege, Baby Shirin. And three of them were hauled up in court. And that was an experience which cost us a lot of money, a lot of time. And yes, we had a very, I mean, romantic times because that's when the government decides to mess with you. That was during the Biren regime back then in 2017, I believe, 2017, 18. So anyway, to cut a very long story short, the chief minister then decided to file a criminal defamation against Imphal Free Press. So there was some issues with our lawyer, and of course we know a little bit of something, but law is another totally different, entirely different subject. It has to be on a hands-on basis. It has to be practice, like medicine. Law has to be practiced. So I finally found out that our lawyer was not doing us justice. We are asking for relief, but that never came initially, anyways. But however, after meeting with some other friends, I have not that many friends, but there are some friends that I can trust, some friends that I can put my, where I feel safe, where I can take their advice, their suggestions. And yes, they are lawyers also. And finally, I thought enough is enough. You need to learn about this court and these rules and these constitutions, the legalities. So that's when I decided to pursue a little bit of law.
And
So I
this
studied
was in which year?
I think I finished my law studies about 3 years back.
Okay. So you
That's
pursued
recently.
it in 2019? 2000?
Yeah, 1920, I think.
Okay.
COVID times, very hard press. But anyway, that was a very enlightening experience. Because in life, you need to handle yourself in some ways, not only in this profession, but you need to, everybody needs to know the law. That is what the government, take for granted in a way. The constitution, everybody should know the law. But yes, we don't know the law. That's why we have a legal representative. But if you know a little bit, then it goes a long way. And also it helps you in your work, like ethically and with your, what not to write and how this is within the ambit of, I mean, if you are going to get sued in court, if you're getting a criminal defamation, these are problems. But any normal person will find, oh, you have been slapped with a case. Then you go bonkers.
So what
That
I'm
means
hearing is, you came into journalism, right? Because you are interested in it. And then you pursued your education after you had joined Imphal Free Press, right? You studied masters in mass communication in Manipur University because you felt that, you should equip yourself with more, I guess, not the practical, but also more, what is there, what is that they're teaching.
that, yeah, critical, yeah.
Then when you're practicing, because many people, like what I'm hearing, some of the narrative is the journalists of Manipur are biased and one-sided, and they are reporting only on certain community or certain incident. But what I'm hearing from you is actually you are walking a very tight rope, right? Like balancing, wherein the people are also attacking you on what you are reporting, but also the government is suing you for what you're reporting. And
Yes,
then you
always.
decided, okay, how do we defend ourselves? And what does the law say? And so you started to learn, you decided to learn more about law because you felt that, the person who was representing you was not standing up, and fighting for you and, okay. And then during, I guess this happened during the COVID time. So during that time you studied, you practiced, you continued with your career, but you also studied. And then 3 years ago, you passed law.
Yeah, that's about it.
Wow.
Yeah. But life itself is a learning process. You learn something new every day, as people say now.
So where did you study law, like in Manipur?
It's a Royal Academy of Law that is in Oinam.
Okay. Okay, and then please continue.
And I have yet to clear uh, an exam which will give me a license to practice.
Okay.
But I have not, I mean, time did not permit me to go for that exam. But I am not thinking of practicing also, but just to learn about law. I leave the practicing thing to my friends, but getting to know a little bit of the legal system, that is interesting.
Mm.
But I am by my profession, my career is in journalism. But to get to know about some things, about some other subjects, especially about the legal aspects, uh, that gives you, I think, a little bit of an edge, a little bit of an edge.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk to lawyers, and when I mean, you can also write about the uh, judiciary and the systems that are here.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just make out a little bit more than what other people can. I mean, you can also do as a like a legal reporting, no, legal reporter. There are not many of those here, except for a couple of them, because people are always apprehensive of if you write, but if you're writing the wrong things, then you may get sued, or I mean, like the court may take a little bit of offense on what you have written, sub judice part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's, I mean, like good if you can handle yourself, and but at least you can represent yourself. If I get arrested, then maybe I can represent myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's better also.
Mm-hmm. So tell me one thing, like you have been covering, about Manipur for a very long time, and there were a lot of issues during, the APSPA phase, and now we have another phase. Manipur have always been in conflict, though in between I did see there was time wherein I think people really celebrated, and there were times where people could actually go out and, have dinner at night, and there was a phase. We did see that, but now it's a different story. So when you're talking about, your curbing of freedom, was this also something you saw it during the APSPA time, like, much earlier, or is this something only recently?
Uh, in Manipur, we have so many stories that we can work on. Yes, uh, being born in the 70s has its advantages and its disadvantages. But we have seen television being introduced in the state.
Mm.
APSPA, the wars of APSPA, the
Mm-hmm.
wars of drug addiction,
Yes.
the wars of fact encounters, and HIV/AIDS pandemic. So many of my friends, my seniors, my those who are junior to me, uh, they've passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the 70s and the late 60s, down to the early 80s, mid 80s generation. So from what I feel is like there are so many people who could have been a bridge in this society, today's society. A bridge, I say a bridge because there has to be a connect between one generation and the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
Manipur got statehood in 1972, so that was not a very long time back still. So those people, I mean, are elders. They are supposed to at least hand down their knowledge,
That is
yeah,
correct.
their wisdom, their morals, their ethics, how to go about, how to be a good person, what not to do, and to know more about our land, our community, other communities, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But I do find that from my small research that I have been doing is that we as 70s children have seen the best and the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And we are some of us are still here. We are alive to tell the tale. we are surviving still.
Mhm.
So during our time, early years, teenagers times, there was a lot of drug addiction, heroin
Yes.
number four, and along with that came the HIV AIDS pandemic.
Mhm.
That also led to a lot of beautiful people. I mean, they could have been good people, good bureaucrats, good judges, good politicians, good engineers, good doctors, good journalists, good people, good citizens.
Mhm.
But I call them the disappeared generation because many of them have passed away. An
Yes.
entire a generation in its entirety. So there is a missing. There's a gap. There's a missing link. So those
Mhm.
people who have, I mean, they are gone due to so many factors, including the law and order situation. Right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Many people 1528 fact encounters in Manipur, 1528. So those are recorded by the Human Rights Alert. So my point is that like we have seen some of the worst of what upstar and these pandemics can throw at us, including the recent COVID. At first, it was like this is a new pandemic from China, and if it reaches Manipur, then we are all in a very going to be in a very bad situation.
Mhm.
Incidentally, I was also a little bit concerned. So when uh, with the initial outbreak of COVID, uh, I went to the chief minister. I was concerned. Chief Minister was 2019 or something along those times. No? So I asked the chief minister, uh, Tamo, brother, what if COVID reaches Manipur? Have you taken up any measures? Have you thought about it? Do you plan to do something about it? But how he was very, I mean, say, in his reply, he said that we are people who eat ngari, fermented fish. So I don't think that this COVID is going to do us any bad. I mean, like uh, we can fight this COVID. We are strong people like it. He was being very candid about the situation of
Mhm.
the chief minister. But ultimately, it hit. Many lives were also lost. But after that, the progress halted. It was worldwide, okay, globally. But just when things were getting a little bit better, we have no idea where COVID is now, and how many are still being affected in the state. But there was a daily grind trying to cover news, running after the data, and among those, you have that scare like, oh, you have been near a hospital, oh, you have been taking reports from near the clinic.
Mhm.
There was this guy who just tested positive, and it's for like, we all know what happened during those mad COVID times.
Mhm.
And then finally, after things got a little bit better, uh, the violence erupted again in a different form, May 3rd, 2023. And it
Yes.
still is going on.
Yeah. So I think, what I am seeing, at least, right, in Manipur, as you have also narrated now, it's one problem after another, with no closure or accountability, right? And I have seen in the media people talking about accountability, this, that.
Mm.
So, like you said, there is that missing link gap. Um, and related to my profession as a data analyst, right now the world is growing more towards artificial intelligence and data, in all this database where they are mining information. So when I query about Manipur, about people whom I get inspiration, I don't see their data. So that is actually one of my motivation, that in this series, what we would have one conversation at a time. At least we will document about people, who we can save some knowledge, their ideas, their stories. And I think it is intentional, like for people who are listening, that we are doing this in English because we want it to be there as a story for the world.
I totally agree on that. There used to be a time that you're not supposed to talk in English, and either, I mean, like during our times, you are more like a smart aleck. I mean, this guy is talking in English. People and the bullies will beat you up in school or something like that. So, like, hi-fi English speaking sometimes was not accepted in some ways. I don't know why. But what we are doing now is like, it's not our language also, but at least to communicate, and at least to show our side of the story.
Yes,
and what's wrong here,
yes, and
and what's good over here. So,
yes,
that particular, audience, global audience. So that's why we must target that Manipur has its good along with its bad. But to communicate to them, we have to have the medium, like a medium of communication. That's why.
yes.
That's what exactly what we're doing over here.
And also there are many people, I think, who have migrated out of Manipur because of this continuous problem which we have, mentioned. And there are like, second generation, third generation children who are interested in Manipur because of their, parents or their foremothers' history, right? But maybe they don't understand and they are not able to read Maitelon or the other local dialects, right? So through this medium, I am asking the people of Manipur that let us unite, let us, because I feel that we are always judging everybody, each other, and we are actually fighting amongst ourselves and deterring the progress. I myself have faced a lot of comment, for my initial attempt to host program in English. And I have always stated that this is, for the world, but I have had a lot of backlash. So, which is why in the beginning I said about trust, right? So I am very thankful, for Paojel Chaoba to be collaborating with us, understanding what is the intent and, the narrative, the importance of narrative, what we can say for Manipur, right? Our own story.
Can you hear the gunshots? Some
Yes.
shots are being fired right now.
So it's being,
Right.
and
Please
that is very
continue.
much in Imphal.
Somewhere on the western side. These things will happen. Anyway, you're talking. Sorry, that shots got me distracted.
Yeah, so that's why I am calling out and requesting to our own people that let us unite. Let us do things together, and I think let us try and work together as a team.
Definitely, we should.
Yeah.
I mean, collaboration is a must, especially in such trying times. Manipur was, at least some years back, we had the Shiroi festival, we had Shanghai festivals. Times were good, Miss Pamina, etc., etc. Business was good. People were coming in from outside. Everything was a little bit vibrant.
Yes, and actually, like that's what, I think one of the thing I know that one of the common story everybody is obviously, bashing the chief minister and Biren, right? for this conflict, both sides, the main media, everything. But also it is something like I have experienced, and I acknowledge that it was during his time that I did see that there was progress in Manipur. Like one time when I came out, I saw that actually, like, you know, Imphal was thriving with very nice restaurants. People were going out, like, you know, there were music concert.
Yes.
You could go out and have a dinner, and that did not happen when I was small. You know, when I was small, like and also we did not have electricity. I don't know if you remember all that part, right? Like I grew up studying in Candle. We didn't have electricity, and then there were electricity only like, okay, at 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. And I remember my mother and my father waking up that early so that we would put our motor, right? And then we will get the water at that time. So we used to do the work depending on when the electricity will come. But I also want to acknowledge that there was a time, right, like during N. Biren Singh's time, that people saw electricity like 24/7. There were a lot of like progress, and then this happened, right?
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Power was very bad then. I still remember those times, like, oh, like the whole community, sorry, the Laikai would go shout when the power comes back on. It's like, yes, hurrah, lights back, power's on.
Yes.
That time we didn't pay the bills also. I mean, there are only some who paid, because those were postpaid, not like the prepaid ones we have. But I mean, even during these times, there's too many power cuts still. That reminds me of the old times back then, when, all right, when it's like power coming back on. So I mean, good times, bad times, but we wish for development. We wish for prosperity.
Exactly.
We wish for law and order to be restored. We want a functional democracy.
Yes,
So,
and
I mean,
now
like in this 21st century, we have got president rule. Can you imagine? As you were saying, the vibrancy, the festivities, that mood that people were in, yeah. I mean, as you're saying, we had very, very famous rock bands visiting Manipur.
And I
Things
have
are
seen the
coming.
artists of Manipur, you know, like so beautiful songs and lyrics, and it's, you know, it's amazing, right? Like how music can connect people, and we have seen that the artist group have connected within. I'm not sure about much collaboration within India, except you know, the one of J. Bedavati, which I am very proud of. A.R. Rahman, you know, at least being very inclusive about Manipur. I don't know about other initiative, but I have seen initiative of, you know, artists of Manipur with other parts of the world. So that just shows the talent, right, and connection of artists, people with the world. So I guess coming back to your story, you mentioned about your sister. What about your parents? Like, can you share a little bit about them and how you grew
My
up?
parents are still here. My mother was a teacher. She used to teach in a primary school. Father used to work in a central office bank, and they have retired. They took good care of me when I was being very bad in my with my life back then as a teenager, and I take care of them now. They are old, but they're still with me.
What do you mean, like when you were bad as a teenager? What did you consider? You said you grew up to be more mischievous. So what is your definition
Yeah,
of that?
studying was not my thing. Now, if you're I had friends who are like the tough thug life people that back then. Mm. So studying was not something which we were supposed to do. So I was part of the bad boys crew, no? In a way, bad boys in the sense that the usual wala like the school, college times when you had friends, you had fights, you had disagreements. You know, you could skip college, you could skip school, you could tell your teacher that all right, I'm not coming to school for obviously false reasons. You know, fudging your parents' signature, report card. I had done some of those, and yes, I didn't study a lot.
Okay.
And what I love to read, I did, and whatever I could learn. The only thing like I mean, reading books, studying different subjects was sometimes very tiresome because the mood was not there. My life was basically more about a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of pranks. Life, like I had some bookworm friends, still have. So I couldn't actually gel with them on a personal level. I used to vibe with those people who are more rebellious in my in their own ways. So we got a lot of scoldings, got a lot of whipping from uh, the teachers. But then uh, the teachers, the principals, the headmistresses who were there, they knew that I was a little bit of a bad boy. But at the end, uh, they didn't take it too hard. But at the end, I think we had a very good connection. So, I mean, they knew that I was not that bad in, like I said, bad evil. No? So it was just being mischievous as a boy, as a teenager. That's what I mean, like, yes, I was not a very good student.
So what was your, like, tell me about your first assignment as a journalist, and because you are celebrating now, I mean, we should celebrate 25 years of being a journalist in Manipur, right?
Yeah, and still
So,
alive.
yes, and you have this lot of stories which you can share with us, because 25 years of covering different, like, conflict all the time, but different conflict, right?
Yeah, different
And
times, mhm,
yes, and then
different problems.
different problems, and you have met so many people like from, um, I guess, people who have committed crimes, people who have
Yeah,
had
I've met all
corruption.
kinds, at least most of them, honestly speaking. But it's my fair share of meeting people that comes with your work, no? Because you meet people every day, new people, new incidents, new crimes, new politicians, police, underground incidents. And, you have to at least be in touch with the state, with the system. You know?
Yeah, and I think what I'm trying to get at is, because you meet people from different segments of life in Manipur, and you have heard their story or seen, right, their work, I'm sure that there are things which you see, right? Because sometimes somebody may have a different perspective because of where they are and because of their work, and then you see the other side, and I think by talking out, maybe we can see the full story, right?
Mhm. Yes.
So yeah,
Mm,
back to that question about your first
assignment. Mm.
assignment, and how did, because I'm sure that has some impact to lead you to 25 years of journalism. Because if you're not interested, I don't know, like, I mean, for me also it is like that. It has to be interesting for me to continue and pursue.
Yes, I work for an evening. My first paper that I work with is still in circulation now. It's called Paojel Evening.
Hmm.
And my editor, his name is Ranjit Oinam, I think. I'm not sure about his title, but anyway, uh, there were some people who have been kind to take me in this, but in this profession, because I didn't come with any experience.
Hmm.
But I had that particular, I mean, craving and that ambition. I mean, like I was, the enthusiasm was with me. I mean, to be associated with the press fraternity of Manipur and to be amongst the reporters, the senior journalists, that was indeed something which I uh, felt a very much a good vibe. I mean, that was so interesting for me in those initial days with the big shot editor, people whom we only listen to on radio or see in the news. You are actually walking up to them and talking with them, learning the ropes from them. That was quite a very good days in the initial. But for my training, I mean, it was like a hands-on experience. Like they're just a sink or swim situation. Like basically, you're being thrown to the inside the pond, and you have to come out from that pond with one fish in the hand. Let alone learning how to swim. So we learn on the job. We learn from our seniors, and it was tough because did not have that much of a uh, people who are actually very professional in our field to be able to teach us like the finer uh, lines, the finer aspects of journalism. But gradually came up to that. I mean, and you have to go. The best part of being in an eveninger is like you have to work on a very tight timeline of just basically like from 9 a.m. to 10, from 9:10 ish till 2:30 in the afternoon. This gives you a time frame of 4-5 hours max to get the news, to put out the lead, the anchor, the second lead, photographs, and internet was a big issue. I mean, you couldn't, like now we have WhatsApp, we have every portal digital. I mean, it is very easy now, but we are getting swamped by information. But then you had to call up people over the phone, dial the numbers, the offices, the police, the politicians, other uh, media houses, get the news from them. So I mean, those times were very tough, including the photographs. Back then there was no digital cameras, no. So
I
you have
think
to
now
make,
the younger generation who are watching us, they will be thinking, what? How did you survive without having a
yeah,
phone,
we are,
right? Like,
they might think that we are dinosaurs also.
yes.
So those times were like you had to you had a limitation on how many photos that you can click.
Mm.
There was a film of 36 uh, voila, this one roll of film, no? So you can't shoot all the whole roll just like that. So you have to just like couple of shots per day, but you have to take very good shots. Photos should not come out blurred. No, those was, I mean, but there was a challenge to that.
Yeah, and you can't even review it, right? Like for those,
You can't, you can't. There was no editing which
yeah, you
they
can't
could give it
review
to
it
you.
once you take it, it's it. And you don't know whether it was blurred or,
Yeah, right, right. So, but the excitement was there. Like, how and in what manner will the photographs come out?
Mm,
Like what you imagine in your head.
right.
That you're capturing a particular moment in time with one click, with one shot, but you have to get ready for the action shot also. So
Mm,
if you're just covering a program, the chief guest is there, like that, it's quite easy. But when you are there at a place where there's violence happening, where there's shooting going on, these are all action. You first you have to take care of yourself. Then you have
yes.
to go and take the shots. And if you are being too open, who knows? You might get beaten up by the security forces, the central the paramilitary forces back then. Many of us have suffered a lot. I mean, like I have a scar over here where I was beaten up by security forces, but I was happy because mm, in my identification papers,
Oh, it's written.
you always had to think like,
Car.
uh, what is your uh, some sort of an identification mark? So I
Mm,
say now the scar on the left eyebrow.
mm.
So,
So
but
did you
uh,
used to wear bulletproof? Like, do you wear bulletproof now when you go? And when did you start wearing it if you are wearing now?
bulletproof in the sense like, no, we don't have bulletproof.
You
We
don't wear bulletproof now when you go for covering stories?
with our salary, we can't afford bulletproof like that. But we have to make do with riot jackets like that. The blue ones that we have, the
Mm,
journalists have. But then it was not only the jacket. The jackets came much later. First, this was a pink jacket. I think
mm,
I might have it uh, with me still. The first jacket that we have, it was a pink jacket. You know, like the photographers waistcoat where you
mm,
can store a lot of stuff inside. And but then there was no mobile phones, nothing like that. But you would be identified as a journalist because that was the first uh, press jacket that the All Manipur Working Journalist Union they provided us with those jackets. So long time back. But we were very proud when we got those jackets. It means like you felt bulletproof, even though it was not bulletproof, but you felt
mm.
bulletproof when
But
you wore that
that
jacket.
that was in the 90s?
I think it must be in 2000, yeah, 90s, yeah, 90, around those late
Late
90s.
90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
when do you like now wear bulletproof jacket now when you go for coverage?
In the initial outbreak, we didn't have bulletproof jackets also. It was do or die situation. I think that goes for most of my colleagues who are there, who have gone out and covered this violence.
Yes, and I did see some footage where, some of the reporter were shot and,
Yes, yes.
they were
Some of
injured.
them they were injured. One is still in I think recovery now. So these are yeah professional hazards. We take it as professional hazards. I mean that is what comes with the job. But the only thing is like, are we getting paid enough for taking those sort of risks?
Hmm.
I mean, those questions certainly crop up, but what we have faced as journalists is not the fear of the bullet, but the fear of not being able to
Hmm. So it's
provide for yourself, provide for your family, provide for your children. Uh, And most journalists in Manipur will agree with me that our pay is quite, uh, what do you say, not on the very, very, with a lot of zeros, which we would love, but let's say very close to a zero type. So we are not very well paid into journalists. So I believe that's another issue where we have lost out on good people who have opted out from this profession because they cannot provide for their families. I know a lot of good journalists, a lot of good sub-editors, a lot of people whom I have worked with. We have gone to other, shifted professions, but they were very good uh, journalists. They were doing a lot of good work in their days, but the pay was not cutting it. Still, the pay is bad in Manipur. Still, we are struggling. So what? I remember one time when we were faced with a certain situation of media being threatened by some organization or something like that. I remember. So we had a big meeting in a press club. So we were talking, discussing about what can go on, what we should do. But I remember saying that yes, the biggest threat that we face is every day the uh, mm, threat of poverty, the threat of not able to sleep because we don't know what we will be. I mean, like what tomorrow will bring. But for tonight, for today, we are not satisfied. Still, we are having a lot of issues in our media fraternity. So I have always complained and fought for better wages. That came later with the Manishna way sport being given. We fought for that. We petitioned for that, and of course, with the DIPR, with the governments in power, we did some lobbies, and I think we have got a journalist pension scheme. During my times in the Old Manipur Working Journalists Union, when I was with the standing committee, we organized a lottery because back then, when you fell ill, when you got into an accident, you had no money, and the union was not in that very good of a shape financially. So you used to ask from people to give some handouts, some uh, donations for people. I've done that myself. So I consulted with my editors, with my senior people, with my colleagues, and yes, those times the All Manipur Working Journalists Union came together, and we organized a lottery. And from there we got the proceeds were around, I think, somewhere around 80 lakh. So that gave us there's still a corpus fund that we have got now. So from that fund, I think the union has been able to make ends meet and also to provide for journalists who are in different, who are facing different issues, different problems, health-wise. For me, some fund is there. So, but it's been a long time, and I've been also associated with that. But that problem still persists of not being paid, commensurated as per our work. Still, that problem it still lingers. It's still there.
So there is a problem of survival, right? Like at least every journalist have their family, and if you're not able to survive in the sense that get food or for the basic needs, then on top of that you have the life security, right, of covering such dangerous event and situation in Manipur. Then on top of that you have the maybe the government or other parties suing you for what you have covered.
Yes,
So
no
with
health
all that
insurance.
problem, many journalists also have opted out in the sense that it's like, okay, what am I fighting for? So
So
that
it's
is
like, it becomes an existential uh, uh, issue, no?
Mm,
So, like, what do you do in life? I
mm,
mean, you are doing the job that you love to do, despite the problems, despite the dangers, despite the unpredictability that it has. But at the end, if you are, I mean, if you cannot function as a provider, if you cannot earn, if you cannot make your daily bread, if you cannot give the basic amenities,
mhm,
however, your job is so demanding.
mm,
So that question has always been like there. I mean, like, am I in my right senses? Am I doing the right thing? How am I going to survive on this thing? How are you going to provide for your family? So those questions are very important. I mean, uh, those are situations that I have faced,
mm,
still facing now.
mm,
But I'm saying that's part of life. So struggles will go on. But I have committed myself. My friends have committed themselves. My colleagues have committed themselves for the profession that they believe in, for
mm,
the profession that they want,
mm,
for the things that they have been able to do, and to make at least, I mean, some a small, not a dent, but a small space that you can create for yourself and uh, for your society, for the youth, you know, for truth, for justice, for liberty, whatever things that you have all value for.
mm,
Mm. So those things has to be prioritized, but those things also comes at a certain price. No, you need hard work, you need dedication, you need to hang in there. Uh, but there will be times when you are being tested to the very last limit. No,
yes.
uh, so survival has been a big issue. Mm, there are so many sets to. I wouldn't bother with you with those, but I mean this is life of a journalist in Manipur, not only for me,
Mm,
but for my colleagues
mm,
also. And sometimes those can also be a problem in ethical issues when your child is having a temperature, you have no money to buy medicine,
mm,
then of course you will obviously take some traveling allowance, some DNS allowance, or some handouts that people will take give you, no. So that inclination will come
mm,
because now then it's a question of survival.
mm,
So you have to at least uh, draw the line somewhere, and some people might not be able to draw that line.
mm,
Even I have been in a serious predicaments myself, but
mm,
by the grace of whatever higher power that is looking after me, uh, I am still alive, still struggling though. But I mean, journalism in Manipur is not that financially rewarding.
mm. So tell me one
Mm.
thing, like with all this, right? Like all of you, like, of course, you are the first which whom we are starting with for this project. And I hope, as I said, with one conversation after another, let's have it, right? Let's talk about it from our heart. And maybe that will bring us closer to understanding each other and bring us closer to love and peace. So with
Totally.
all this struggle, right, you are representing your colleagues, the people who are reporting from Manipur with such danger. And
Mhm.
yet, I do hear comments um, from the outside world of a prejudiced, one sided story from journalists in Manipur.
Mhm.
So, can you share a little bit of experience and your comment on that?
Right. So you cannot be biased as a journalist, but you're also a human being.
Mm,
You have emotions, you know, and You can't be just like, yeah, I'm a recorder, I'm a reporter. I don't see what's happening in front of me.
Mm.
But you try to, like when a woman is getting attacked in the
Mm.
streets,
Mm.
will you just be simply filming because you're a cameraman or you're a reporter? But you are a human being, no?
Mm.
So sometimes you have to intervene in an ethical manner.
Mm.
But for the purpose of, I mean, for the values that you hold dear, you have to act on it, not only as a reporter, not as a journalist, but as a
Human
person,
being.
as a human being.
Mm.
So that has to come into perspective. You have to know that. But there will be times, there will be situations when you cannot just take the other side of the story.
Mm.
How? I mean, like, of course, like in the present, let's say, like, we can't go to the hills. We can't take the other side of the story of the Cookie Joe people community. So if we're not being able to access that part and where we are not allowed to come in, how will we make a good story?
Yeah, so can you like elaborate that a bit? Because I think people have the perception that maybe the journalists are not trying, but what I'm hearing from you is you are not allowed to go there and cover the story.
All right, I'll give you an example. Uh, During the initial days when there were bunkers being built and all, there was some time when the army at Lemakong area, along with the state forces, took a some sort of a trial to usher in peace by dismantling the bunkers on both sides.
Mm.
So I was there present in that particular meeting, and I took permission from my friends and from it is, the people present over there that yes, we as journalists should go and cover both sides. If you're saying that the Manipuri Meitei media is being biased, then of course let's try our best
Mm.
effort. But you need to have some. Uh, I mean, you can take risks, but there has to be some calculated risks as well.
Mm.
You can't just go in front of a fire saying, "So we are journalists. People are just shooting left, right, and center." And come on, no one will shoot us because we are journalists. No way, we are not bulletproof.
Mm.
And people will kill us. People have killed journalists. A lot of our colleagues, our seniors, have passed away. Mm. And Manipur is not just of that hunky dory, uh, crime-free areas. Don't where you can report on gardening, you can report on painting. Like in the Andaman where they have zero crime. The only crime story that you can tell is like when the cabbages from the Indian mainland are coming in rotten. Those type of stories. But this is a place where I don't need to explain. Violence, law and order always have been an issue. So coming back to the story, when I took my friends, my colleagues, my juniors, all five of us were there. We were going inside the Kuki territory at Lemakong area, inside Lemakong. Of course, the army was with us, but they were just protecting us in a way, just making sure. But when we went inside to get the perspective of the Kuki women, we were organizing a protest over there. They saw that we are Meitei uh, reporters, journalists, and we are surrounded. Some of the men came out and they were about to close the gates. And I thought that like that's the day like we're going to get killed in
Mm.
some ways. But thanks to the, I mean, army, they acted a little bit swiftly. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here talking with you. And of course, we escape with our lives. But what I'm trying to say is, how can you get the other perspective, the other side of the story, when you are not allowed, and so they're going to you're going to get killed. See, if by being getting killed means if you're dying in such a way that, right, you're covering an instant. Many journalists have been martyred. My deepest respects for them. So that's part of the professional hazard. But if you're just stupid enough to go and venture into some place where people will obviously kill you, we have done that part also in the uh, best of intentions, to be true to ourselves, to be true to our profession. But when this incident happened, I mean, how can you be so much foolish or stupid enough to go back into a place where you have escaped uh, with your life, luckily? So that is one thing I've never seen in my years of journalism. Like when you are in a conflict zone, and especially in an ethnic one, and you belong to one community, they'll obviously go for the cookie reporters also. Sorry, journalists also. If they come over here, some situations might happen to them, and vice versa. So we have lived to tell the tale.
Yeah, so I think couple of reflection on what you are saying. So the journalist team in Imphal, you know, you guys thought that, okay, you know, we should cover both sides of the story because you're journalists, and 5 of you went to Laimakong during that time where the bunkers or, I don't know, volunteer where they are located that has been dismantled. And then you went into the cookie area. But it came to a scenario where you got almost surrounded and you escaped and you were
We were
held
surrounded. We were surrounded.
surrounded.
I think the video is still available on Facebook. The Frontier Manipur.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I remember seeing that, and let me just pull it up.
That must be back in 2023.
Yeah, this is very much in the beginning, right?
Mm.
So let me see. So all 5 of you were surrounded, and then the army swiftly came and, you know, like helped you to pull you out. Ay, di ka man
Yeah.
daw, you know, like, no, isipura mo, mayam na, like,
We were there. We went inside. All the women sitting. They were trying to do a protest. Lots of them. Must be around like 300 of them. 200 plus. And they saw us. They came out shouting. We were told to go inside an army car, a safari vehicle, olive green Tata Safari. So I was traveling in an open gypsy. If I was sitting, I was going to go to the gypsy. But if I had done that, a very bad situation might have happened. But the colonel, I forgot his name, a young chap. So he took us inside the army vehicle, me and my friends inside. So on my left, the youth were shouting, "Kill the Maite report journalists." They were stomping on the door. They were trying to pry the door open. And on the right side were the women. Women were a little bit better. I mean, actually, they were talking to us like, "Who are you? Where are you from?" But on the other side was like very, 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 I mean, violent. So they were shouting to close the gate of the church compound, that particular Lemokong area. So one army gypsy dropped in between the gates so that the gates couldn't close. And I think it must be around like only 15 meters from where we were to that gate. And I think that was the longest minutes that we experienced from slow, just inching our way, you know, because there was a swarm of women and other uh, cookie youths who were trying to stop the vehicle and all. So those were very long minutes. Seemed like hours. But finally, when we drove out, I took some videos and I made a video of the letter.
Mm.
And I also hit my mobile phone in case if
Oh.
we got killed, then at least the my mobile would survive. No, so I put inside the near the gear of the where the driver was sitting. Even he didn't know. I put it inside the next to the there was small some sort of handkerchief. Army guys, the some of those high-ranking officers have very clean vehicles. So I hid my phone beneath that velvety cloth near the gears. So
Mm.
in case if we got killed, then perhaps some proof could survive. I mean, would have made it. I'm aware. So I thought that it would be a pretty bad way to die because if we get shot or something like that, there's not a big. There wouldn't be a big problem. But if you're getting all this uh, tortured or something like that, that wouldn't look very nice to my family and also to my community also. But thank God we got out alive.
Yeah, and thanks to the army, swift
Yes.
action of the army, that you were saved. And I think, we have this love-hate relation with the uniform people, right? Like there are a lot of stories of uh, people being saved by them, but also there are a lot of stories of people being beaten by them. So I just want to acknowledge that. Um,
I have reported on that. I can totally understand what you're trying to say, but I have reported about the Assam Rifles, about the army, about a whistleblower called Dharembir Singh. Uh, he was a colonel in the Indian Army, uh, and he was one person who divulged, I mean, a lot of uh, things about the atrocities, about some of the uh, deep, big encounters of sorts which happened back then, especially with army people from the army coming to the Assam Rifles, trying to get medals, trying to get promotion by killing defenseless civilians, or even if they were involved with some other outlawed incident outfit, people can't just get killed in cold blood. But that happened a lot in
yes,
Manipur. So I
yes.
said 1 5 to 8 fake encounters.
Mm.
Goes the same for the Assam Rifles also because I have exposed Naib Subedar Ramesh Chan Singh from his testimony. I did about 3 stories where people were just getting arrested, a woman getting arrested without just because um, the police and the Assam Rifles they were in cahoots with each other, and they gave the box to this girl, and she was arrested just because that the security personnel can get some small medals, no? They get some awards, and I did a series on them. So how laborers were picked up from I mean, the work site, and they were made to be like incident, sorry, members of an incident outfit. They were jailed.
Mm-hmm.
They were put locked away. They were tortured. Many of them were tortured. And Lieutenant Colonel Dharambir Singh, from what he said, people were buried behind a mess at Rangapahar, uh, this army. there's a big army headquarters over there. So, I mean, these stories I have done. There are people who are good, there are people who are bad. Of course, that comes with everywhere. But as responsible, I mean, a soldier, he has the weapon either to protect or to attack. So, in
Yes.
times of the country being in, I mean, uh, under attack from inside or outside, external or internal threats, of course. That's what the soldiers, that's what, and for the law and order situation, the police is there along with the other, I mean, security forces. But those times were like, you didn't have mobile phones, you didn't have internet, you didn't have anything. So people can do about as they wish. We have heard of so many stories. There are so many, uh, I mean, the Supreme Court is still pulling up cases from those fake encounters. No, it's still going on. So as we have said, as we have talked about before, we come from that particular age, from a particular generation, where people have disappeared, where people have been badly brutalized for life, people have been scarred, people have been involved in so many, I mean, like, what has not happened in Manipur. So
Yes,
from those
exactly.
times, with the advent of digital world, mobile phones, internet, social media, people have become careful also. Now, but you can see people like the army also uh, appearing on social media, talking about their achievements here, what they've done in Manipur. How Manipur may, it's like a big achievement for them. Like they do in Kashmir, they get extra pay here in Manipur, might be all the perks that you have done your tour from like here to hot LTT to uh, people in Kashmir, down to the Maoist and also the northeast side, where there's a obvious problems which have been happening for a long time. Like what this is their perspective. But where are we now? We're in a situation where I mean, like weapons are being looted, and the governor is actually asking, notifying in the papers to give back the looted arms. So has it happened anywhere? So you can, I mean, like it's quite a. I mean, we have never come across such a situation like this in our lifetime. It's something completely. Uh, I mean, still confusing, and we have to see the. I mean, the end of this conflict yet to.
Yeah, so I think coming back to that relation of the civilian with the army, like like you said, right, we have documented and there has been a lot of cases where the people are fearful of the uniform army men because of all the stories we have heard.
Mhm.
But also we do hear about incidents wherein, they have come to the rescue of people, right? Like your example wherein they got you out from that situation. Then
Mhm.
when I was supporting the relief camp, there were women who reported to me about, how they came and helped them at least, get
Of course.
them safely from that camp, from More and Churachandpur back to Imphal area. And there has been like very heartbreaking stories of how even they were transported. So I just want to acknowledge that, there is that love-hate relation with them. And I also want to show our gratitude for the ones who have stepped up, to save people, irrespective of which
Yeah,
side, but the
definitely.
civilians. Yeah.
Definitely agree on that.
I guess with the remaining 15 minutes, can you share some of the highlights, which really, in your 25 years of reporting, um, covering for this conflict, how is it different from the previous coverage you have had, and how did it impact you personally, and how you have been coping up? I think we could you could share about that, and we can end this session and we can continue in our next.
That would take a very long time, but I'll put it in a nutshell of 10 minutes, if I can. So as I was saying, with all the issues that journalists face in Manipur, especially of the law and order situation, of threats made out to the media, these are part of our, work. We take it as a professional hazard. In fact, some of these things are welcome. These are part of our journey in our profession. But if you, when you have stories, of, like, say, you investigate. It's not like about current affairs that you report what's happening over here. Car has, got into an accident, people getting killed, bomb exploded, person shot. That been happening a lot in Manipur from a long time back. But what I've learned is violence, cycle of violence, the cycle. So sometimes it takes a full, turn. So when you feel that, like, yes, my state is now in a looking very bright, the way forward, so good, vibrant. We have faced the worst of the storm, but then suddenly all your what you do not expect, and even despite all your professional experience, this what happened we did not expect. This is that such an incident will occur that will get Manipur in such a situation. But anyway, that is something which that is still, we are still confused. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and when things will be better. But in my profession, I have learned that bad things will happen. But what matters is, like, not getting kicked down by those troubles, that you fall on the ground. But you have to handle that and come up stronger. Try to come up stronger. Become a more experienced person, but not with hate, but not with prejudice, but rather be a human being that to care about your community, also people in general, about the society. Yeah. So this issues, these problems, either make one stronger or they will break you. So there will be times when you do a story and you don't even want to print it. You know it's a good story, but if you print that story, that essence of, like, the decision that you can't make, like, by printing this story, my editor will be happy with me, my work will be done, I can give out a good story. But if that story lands, in a sense, in trouble, if it harms their reputation, then you have to step above. You don't need to. For me personally, I have not done stories. I've discarded stories. But for the, I mean, for the good things in life, for the people to be happy, for people to know that yes, even as we journalists, we know what's going on, but we prefer that this time we give you a chance to live life, that we will not interfere with your privacy or whatever some situation that may land in a, I mean, so what I'm trying to say is like there are some hard choices that you have to make. So either you become some sort of a sensational journalist where you people there's no Lakshman Rekha holding you back, you invade into people's privacy, talk a lot of crap and all this, useless stuff. But you have to at least stand your ground and try to do something that you believe in. That is for the, I mean, as a journalist, to be with your, values, to be ethical, and at the same time, be able to learn, to absorb. And the best thing is like you have to connect with people, with work, and in a way, things will be very, very, very difficult, and there will be a lot of confusion. And there will be times when you can't make neither heads or tails of a situation. And there will be times when you know that, oh, with this story, I might get killed. Those are very, very interesting times. You should live to tell the tale. I mean, so when you expose, for example, one example I'll tell you. When I exposed the fake encounter of Constable Thonozum Herojit killing Sanjit in cold blood, he practically told me like he shot him down on the orders of his superior. So that was during the heights of fake encounters. So I knew that I might end up in a ditch or I might disappear if I do this story. So that got me thinking, I mean, like, what to do. I have a family, I'm a human being, but there was a lot of questions in my mind. But something here, uh, told me like, let's see what happens. Do the story. So I did the story. And after that, I mean, exposure, I knew that I could get killed anytime. But here I am today, talking about it. So there are some risks in life that you have to take in your profession, in your journey as a journalist. So many of my colleagues have passed away. People uh, in different regions, in different states, in different countries, for the love of the work that they have done. So applause for them. They will be in my heart, and we will remember them. But all these professions comes with, they are fraught with dangers. But if you are reporting from, armchair journalism type, that I don't know, I have no idea what it is, but people may find comfort in what sort of work they do. I'm not saying that everyone should try to take risks, but when it calls for a certain amount of risks, and if it is for the right reasons, I believe that you should take it. This is my suggestion to my junior colleagues also. When the time comes, you have to be prepared, and you have to do good for truth, for justice, for liberty, for a vibrant democracy to be ascertained. That's what I have to say. Mm-hmm. And I feel even if there is no money in this work, at least the satisfaction is there that you have done a small job that has made a small difference in the particular system that you're living in.
So with that, if you are listening to our conversation till now, Thank you so much. It is with great risk that the journalists of Manipur have been reporting with conflict after conflict after conflict for truth, justice, democracy, liberty.
Yeah.
That's what Paojel Chaoba is telling us, not only from his side, but on behalf of many of the journalists from Manipur. We are so grateful that despite the risk, despite the minimal low wages, despite the mental trauma, right, which you have to see, despite what your family have to go through, you have stood up to tell a story as Manipur, like we have seen, like you're telling about the story about the UPSPA time. That was the story which I think shook the world, and because of all the evidence, the footage you got, like we knew what was happening. Like you said, many of us are not sure what is happening. It's a very confusing time, even now, right? Like somebody is saying something, someone is saying something, we see some footage, something. So we are hoping that with each conversation, at least we will get to understand what is happening. So thank you so much for what you do. Be safe, continue with the spirit. And I'm sure like people, who are seeking for love and peace and truth will come together.
Definitely. That's the way forward.
So with
Thank
that,
you so much, Monica. Thank you.
With that, we will end today's session, but do look out for the next session with more conversation and, one conversation at a time, but I am sure that this will help us to understand, what we are not seeing or what we are not speaking about. So I hope that, all of us will come together and be united and share our story, not with hatred, like you said, but, coming from our heart and trying to understand, what is happening. So thank you so much, Kurumjit.
Pleasure.